Matchday 25 picks edition of the Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play Underdog's Pick'em for a chance to win 100x. Promo code SGPN at underdogfantasy.com for a 100% deposit match. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com. Use the code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. We're also brought to you by the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. Enter their free Daytona 500 contest for a chance to win $100 cash and a $100 SGPN gift card at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Daytona. Welcome, everybody, to the Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford, coming to you from Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England. Today is Wednesday. It's the 14th of February, Barry. It's the old Valentine's Day. And we are here to have a little look around what happened in the Champions League and the EFL. Plenty of winners, great stuff in the last couple of nights. And we've got a full match day in the Premier League. Game 25, match day 25 over the weekend. Joining us from Nottingham is Mr. Barry Penaluna. Baz, how are you?
Evening, Malcolm. I'm sat here on mute whilst the little child mooches around the kitchen making lots of noise. So I told her to hurry up and buzz off. She's grabbing Ben and Jerry's ice cream at this time of night. 10 o'clock at night.
School night, Baz, as well?
Well, it's not a school night up here. We're on our holidays, Malcolm.
Yeah, different time.
Next week. Yeah, she's living the life of Riley because we're on our holidays. The big one's away skiing. She's in Switzerland. So the little one's just doing what she likes for a week, basically. Give her free rein.
Nice. Valentine's Day, Baz. I haven't interrupted you eating oysters off your lass's bum or anything like that. Nothing going on?
Nah, nothing going on. We spent the night travelling back from Newcastle. Basically 3 hours on the M1, heading back from Newcastle tonight. We got back about an hour or so ago. So no, all Valentine's shenanigans have been postponed. Might have a nice meal at the weekend. I've bought a big whole fillet steak, a 3.5 kilo whole fillet of beef, which will definitely get cooked up somehow at the weekend with some other stuff. So, all Valentine's Day.
Valentine's poem, Baz, if you're interested.
Oh, for go, yeah.
Yeah. Roses are red, violets are blue, Mansfield 9, Harrogate 2. That was good, wasn't it, last night? That was a fun one. Enjoyed that. Yeah, we should have really taken the over 10.5 goals. Like, I managed to find some flowers tied to a lamppost just on the corner. They're there quite regularly, Baz, just free flowers. So that sorted me out for Valentine's Day. Everything under control. And Barry, I think it's about time we talked about my new hat. It's got a propeller on it. Boss, look at that. Go on. Courtney likes it. I've wanted one of these for ages, Baz. You, just before we started, you didn't even say hello to me. The first 3 words you said to me were fucking grow up. The first 3 words. That's a bit strong, Baz.
Yeah, I'm just not having it. I don't know what you're twatting about with a silly hat on your head for.
Well, all I've complained about is it being windy. I haven't had for the last 3 months. Now, I can't wait for it to be windy. The minute we get a windy day, Baz, I'm going to be straight out there. It's going to be whizzing around like nobody's business. Yeah, Courtney likes my hat. Courtney was second in the chat behind Michael. Lee Smith, Burnley fan. Lee cashed a few tickets this week with us, I think. Message last night, so we'll go through those in a little minute. And Pat Foster. Pat, how you doing? Sound of the suburbs. Get involved with Pat and his podcast. But yes, Baz, I mean, it's only 48 hours since we last spoke. I feel like we've just gone from one podcast straight into the next one. But in those 48 hours, Baz, I went 5 out of 6. I was one Munich goal away from clean sweep. They had 19 shots tonight, although 0 of them were on target. So yeah, 1 Munich goal away from 6 out of 6. Hit clean sweep on Tuesday. Leicester on the handicap, which was unbelievable price. Like they only won 2-0, but they had it wrapped up by half time. City Copenhagen over 3.5 at 11-8 did give out the 3-1 correct score, and then Madrid to win on the money line 6-5. And then we backed it up tonight with a double delight of Huddersfield beating Sunderland at 13-5 plus 260. PSG under 2.5, which I think between us we absolutely handicapped to death, Barry. And both teams to score. Lazio Munich is the one that's let me down. So 6 units turned into 12 units. So great stuff for me. And you hit bits and bobs, but the talking point, Baz, was your EFL ACCA.
Yes, well, I've done all right on the Champions League as well. Really, 4 picks in the Champions League, 2 from 4, but good plus price winner. 6-5 for Madrid money line, and 7-4 for Paris Saint-Germain to win by 2 or more. Actually went off at 2-1 tonight, so I was delighted with that. But the EFL ACCA over 2.5 goals in those 3 games was at 4-1. We could have cashed the over 3.5. All of them went over 3.5 goals. So that cruised in nice and easy. So yeah, some really good stuff this week. Only 5 picks put out, 3 winners, but with a 4-1 accumulator in there, a 7-4 and a 6-5. A good positive week of Champions League and EFL stuff.
Yeah, it was actually the shortest price pick of my 6 that let me down. 3-4 shot that both teams to score. Everything else was plus money so far. Oh, sorry, PSG were the shade of odds on the under. But 4 plus money picks from those 5 winners.
Yeah, I mean,
and the shorty,
you mentioned the PSG game. We couldn't have. There was only one result which was going to cash us both a winner tonight, and that was a 2-0. Because I took PSG on the handicap, and you took the under 2.5, and you said at the time, "Let's have a 2-0," and sure enough, we did. Yeah. It was the only result that could hit for both of us. So it was just one of those weeks where everything, or almost everything, went very, very well.
If I appear slightly distracted, Baz, We Had Science is on the telly tonight. I was watching Sex and the City on Monday. Well, We Had Science is on. And what's her name? Kelly LeBrock. Different species, Baz, isn't she? So yes, I'm looking at her rather than looking at you, which is quite understandable on this Valentine's evening. Zach has joined us. Zach's into the hat as well. That's 2 upvotes for the hat, Barry. Lloyd O's had a 9-1 tonight. Got lucky, which is good. Captain Insano joining us as well. Big fan of We Had Science. Aye, Captain. How are you? Nearly baseball type, Captain. MLB show will be starting maybe next week. Divisional previews and stuff. So go and subscribe to the MLB Gambling Podcast while you're listening to this rubbish. And we will entertain you all summer long. So yeah, that's that done. Premier League again this weekend then, Baz. I looked at the card. Last week when we handicapped the card, it was quite a underwhelming card. There's no real big games, is there? There's no relegation 6-pointers. And literally there's no sort of big games at the top. There's sort of 3 or 4, 2-1 or shorter. So what did you make of the of this week's slate, Baz? You feeling it?
Yeah, there was nothing jumped off immediately. A lot of leans towards goals in one way or another, just because of what we've seen over the last few weeks. As I said last week, the over 1.5 hit in every game. Only 2 of the games didn't hit the over 2.5. So I've got a lot of leans to goals and over, team totals, over 3.5s even in some games. But yeah, nothing really jumped out massively. I think there was, 1 or 2 games where I found it a little easier than others to lean somewhere, but others, it was a tricky card to get stuck into. I should say, whether I can read my notes on any of these, I've done it all whilst driving. Well, not whilst driving, but whilst being driven down the M1 tonight. So 3 hours of studying on the road, but lots of mistyped notes here. So it might be a bit of gobbledygook thrown out at some point. But, there you go.
Coisty joined us in the chat. There was some madness in Scotland tonight, Coisty. Rangers got the win, fell 1 goal short of going top of the league. But the madness, Neil Warnock was having a madness in Aberdeen v Motherwell. Motherwell were 3-0 up after 20 minutes. All the Aberdeen fans were going mad. Warnock makes a change after half an hour, which you never see. The bloke he brought on scored within 30 seconds, then scored again. and they got back to a 3-3 draw. So Neil Warwick was working his magic up in Aberdeen tonight. Do you want me to tell you the story I've been threatening to tell you for 3 weeks, Baz, about Toaster?
Yes, let's go.
Right, okay. So it was, I was driving all the way to Toaster with my mate Matt, who runs the casino business. Matt is a very nice man. We're okay. We've worked together hundreds of times. We've been friends several years. He's a very, very boring man, Barry. He's dull. Our thing is, our shtick is we've got nothing in common. We have absolutely nothing in common. If he comes to pick me up, by the time we get to the end of the street, we're just looking at each other. Like, literally, I want to talk about football and betting. He wants to talk about residence parking permits and how to fix his boiler and stuff like that. We've literally got nothing in common. So it was the FA Cup day. It was the West Brom Wolves day, Newport Man United, and I think Liverpool Norwich. So I was quite happy listening to the football all day with me radio on, but we're chatting. And then, Barry, what happened was he took... So I think if you have general chit-chat, and you know this, if we'll sit in the pub, you've got pretty much a story for every occasion. Whatever you're talking about, even if you drive past a road sign or something, you've got a little tale to tell about it, something, just one of those skills of having pub banter. He told a story to me, but it was one of my stories, Baz, that I've told to him years ago. But I didn't have the heart to sort of pull him up about it. Now, it wasn't a great story either. Let's not get this wrong. I wouldn't open with it on Letterman. Like, it involved a blue inhaler, a Kit Kat wrapper, and the number 10 bus, right? And it was just a little throwaway story. But
I mean, could it be a coincidence that, maybe he's experienced the same scenario?
He might. Well, that is the only other option, is that he the exact same things happened to him. But Baz, the kid's got no crack. So, I mean, it's just remarkable. But I had to just roll with it. And now it's gone and I can't pull him back. So I wonder if he's doing that. He might be out and about now, like telling my stories to all and sundry, Baz.
And claiming all the credit. I mean, to be fair, I don't know what credit he gets for any of the shit you come out with, to be fair.
No, 100%, yeah. But that's what I mean. How bad does your own crack have to be if you're recycling my crack?
I take it he doesn't listen to the podcast.
Oh, absolutely doesn't listen to the podcast, no. If I see him brooling around in one of these hats, Baz, this summer, I'll know what's going on. Stealing my identity, Barry. So there you go. If Captain Insane was saying there's no honour in stealing the stories. Remember, you won't remember, Baz, Seinfeld. Kramer sells all his stories to Jay Peterman to go in his autobiography because he's got no stories to put in his book. So he buys all of Kramer's stories off him, but then Kramer's not allowed to tell them. And Kramer realises that he's got no crack in the pub, so he wants to buy all his stories back. So it brought to mind very much that thing while Matt was telling me my own story about the Kit Kat wrapper on the number 10 bus. We'll make some... I'm pleased I got that. It's been bugging me for about 3 weeks, that, so I'm pleased we've got that. We'll make some picks, Baz, because people have got money to spend. We picked some winners this week, so it's burning a hole. After I've told you first about the Daytona 500 contest. Start your engines. NASCAR is back. Check out the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb have got you covered for all things NASCAR and racing. It's a great podcast. And honestly, there's a lot of shows on this network. These boys are fucking incredible. Like, the picks are absolutely nailed on. I've never watched NASCAR, but I tell you what, if you have a little dabble on the picks, you'll be showing some profit when the weekend's finished. So from the truck racing to the Cup, IndyCar to F1, this show gives you the drivers to watch and the most profitable picks for the weekend of racing. Enter their free Daytona 500 contest for a chance to win a $100 SGPN gift card and $100 cash. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Daytona. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Daytona. And Underdog Fantasy, great way to play alongside your favourite players all season long. NBA, NHL and college basketball. Pick high roller with your favourite players' fantasy stats and cash in. Win 100x with some spicy plays. Watch along, make your picks and maybe make a little cash on Underdog's mobile app or website, underdogfantasy.com. Yeah, use the promo code PLGP. Premier League gambling podcast. Underdog, double your first deposit up to $100. Underdog Fantasy, promo code PLGP. Okay. Callum has joined us in the chat. Carl, how you doing? Courtney gets the Seinfeld reference. Thanks, Courtney. You've got my back tonight. She likes the hat and the chat. Saturday lunchtime, 17th of February. Don't know why I said that. 12:30 kickoff, 7:30 Eastern time is Brentford against Liverpool. Brentford are the 9-2 home dogs. The draw is Burlington Bertie, 100-30 plus 333. Liverpool are 4-6 minus 150. Ugly start this one. Brentford made their way back up to 14th with that win at Wolves last week, and they're kind of just doing enough to stay out of the shit. And I tell you what, Ivan Toney's made a real difference coming back. No one really knew whether it was going to take him 2 or 3 months. He's hit the ground running. He's scored goals. And he's clearly a very, very good player. And he's going to be the difference. Like, if they stay up, he is absolutely going to be the difference. Clearly a bit of a tit. I'm not sure I'm a big fan of his behaviour. But if you're good, you can kind of get away with it. Like, the clean sheet at Wolves for Brentford was uncharacteristic because they conceded 3 in the last couple of games against Manchester City and Tottenham. And I think that's a decent comparison here for Liverpool. Before that Wolves game, the match totals in Brentford games were 5-5-5, 4-5. So plenty of goals around. Liverpool flying, kind of. Won 5 of 6, but obviously the fly in the ointment is that 3-1 defeat at Arsenal, where they really just didn't turn up at all. They were poor. They were the second best team. Again, match totals 4-4, 5-4, 6. So that's 10 games between these two teams in the last 11 that have gone over 3.5. I think Brentford can get at least a goal. Liverpool normally are good to give a goal away. Ivan Toney's in great form. Over 3.5 is the new over 2.5, Baz. It fits all the profiles. I'll take over 3.5 goals at 5-4 plus 125.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, Brentford did pick up an uncharacteristic clean sheet. Their first clean sheet in 14 games with a 2-0 over Wolves. But I certainly don't see them picking up 2 in a row here. Prior to that, they'd been leaking goals for fun. They'd conceded at least 2 goals in each of the last 6 league games and conceded 3 or more goals in 4 of those 6 as well. City, Spurs, Wolves, and even Palace hit them for at least 3 goals recently. So I don't think that bodes well for them here with Liverpool creating 25 or more chances in the last 3 of the last 4 games. The Arsenal game was the only one where they struggled to create as much. They're hitting 10 shots on goal quite regularly. That's been without Salah. Salah should be back. He's now back in full training after injury. He's likely to feature at some point, whether that's off the bench or not. It doesn't matter, but it's still a boost for them either way. I mentioned before, as I say, Brentford have conceded 3 or more in 4 of the last 6 games. But Liverpool have also scored 3 or more in 4 of their last 6 games. So similar on the opposite side of it. So I'm like you, I think there'll be goals. I think Liverpool will get at least 3 of them. And it's a good plus money price. Liverpool to score 3 or more here is 6-4 plus 150. So that's where I've gone. Brentford, Liverpool team total over 2.5 at 6-4. I did put down here, I don't mind the over 3.5 either, because Liverpool aren't keeping many clean sheets themselves. They haven't got any in the last 5 games. Burnley managed a goal. And as you say, Ivan Toney coming back has hit the ground running. So the over 3.5 I like as well at over 6 at 6-5, as you mentioned. But the pick for me is Liverpool team total.
Liverpool team total, yeah. I mean, Callum's saying he fancies Brentford to get a goal. You're looking at total Liverpool 3-1 possibly. I definitely think Brentford are good for a goal. And I've just put up on the screen there, Michael's giving us the Brentford corner stats for the last 5 home games, 8-6, 8-7-7. So the line here is at 3.5. So we've got a lot of potential there from 3.5 up to 8. One of those games against Manchester City as well, so a relatively decent comparison game. So love that, Michael. Brentford corners, definite angle in. The 3 o'clock games on Saturday start with Burnley against Arsenal. Burnley are 17-2 plus 850. The draw 17-4 plus 425. And Arsenal are 3-1 on minus 300, Barry.
So for me, it's pretty much the exact same handicap as the Liverpool game. You're looking at the better team being away from home, a team who's scoring goals. Arsenal won 4 in a row now and scored 16 goals in the last 4 games. Burnley have got recent comparison games here against Liverpool, scored 3 past Burnley. City put 3 past them. Villa put 3 past them. So teams at the top end of the table have all been able to put multiple goals past Burnley. So I think very much like that, the first game, I just think Arsenal will do this and they'll do it comfortably enough. And I'm going right back to the exact same bet. I'm taking a team total again with Arsenal to score 3 or more at 6-5. So a team total, Arsenal over 2.5 goals at 6-5 plus 120.
I've got that up at 5-4 bars. If you want another 20th of a point, you can have it. I've got 2 bets picked out here, so I'll give out the other one because one of them was Arsenal team total over 2.5. I mean, Burnley predictably lost 3-1 at Liverpool, and Arsenal backed up that win against Liverpool with an unbelievable performance at West Ham. I said I think I was a little bit unkind to them at the weekend because I didn't put them out as an eye catcher. And on hindsight, when you mentioned them, I thought I'd probably 6-0 away from home. Probably does catch the eye slightly. So any Arsenal fans, I'll give you your credit tonight. I'm absolutely full of confidence Arsenal be. If Arsenal do wobble, though, it's away from home. They've only won 7 out of 12. But Burnley, 9 home defeats out of 12. There's only one outcome here. So I looked at the 2 bets I wanted were Arsenal on the handicap, which was evens, or the Arsenal team total, which was 5-4. It's just possible Arsenal might win 2-0, and I don't want to get stung. If Arsenal hold them at arm's length with a 2-0 win, I'll take that quarter of a point off. So I'll take Arsenal on the handicap, Baz, although I will also co-sign your team total of plus 2.5 at 5-4. I have just been brought a cup of tea, Baz, which is a nice touch from number 1 daughter. Everyone's daughter's getting in on the action tonight. Thanks, Pete. Lee concurs Arsenal on the handicap. I'm guessing, are you going to that game, Lee? Burnley, Arsenal. 0 confidence in Burnley. Lee's got, and Michael gives us a Declan Rice shot on target at 6-4. Declan Rice did the bizzo last week for us. Fulham against Aston Villa is the next 3 o'clock game. Fulham are on the drift. They were not much actually. 15-8 plus 187. The draw is 11-4 plus 275. Villa are 6-5 plus 120. Yeah, this was tricky, I think. Fulham are 12th in the table. They're now unbeaten in 3. 2 draws and a win against Bournemouth. Not very many patterns in the overs, unders, or BTTS. And they've won 7 of 12 at home. So at Craven Cottage is where they do their best work, Fulham, like. And Villa are just all over the place, Villa. Lost the little red, yellow, green form lines. Lost 1, lost. Drawn 1, lost, drawn 1. So what we've got 3 L's, 3 W's and 2 D's in there. So the last 2 wins were against the bottom 2 teams. Were against Sheffield United and Burnley. So they've got away with them. But they're not beating the other teams around them. I actually thought they played well against Man United last week. This is the head-scratching thing. Because I thought they were unlucky losers in that game. The XG was 2.46 to 1.88. But so there has been plenty of goals around. I can't see the team keeping a clean sheet, Baz. So both teams to score with over 2.5 is 5-6 minus 120. Somebody's going to win this 2-1. So I don't know who it is, but I don't care because I'll take the BTTS with over 2.5 at 5-6 minus 120.
That was perfectly timed there. I put myself on mute again whilst little child came back in with the Ben and Jerry's. Thankfully not completely empty and rustling around.
Flavour is it,
to put it back. I've no idea. Could be anything.
We'll find out.
Cookie dough or something like that, probably. Anyway, she's buggered off again. Same as you, Malcolm. I don't know who's going to win it either. I wrote exactly the same as you. It's trickier because Fulham are just such a streaky team. They'll string a couple of wins together and you'll think they're going to hit a bit of a run and then they'll go 4 or 5 without a win. And then you think you've got to fade them. They'll go and pick up another couple of wins. They're just all over the place. So you have to work out whereabouts on the curve Fulham are after the win against Bournemouth at the weekend. But then Villa are out of form as well. Just 1 win and 6 in all competitions. The only teams they've beaten since Christmas in the league are Sheff Utd and Burnley. So hard to back Villa at the moment in their current form. But I've looked at goals as well. They have hit the over 2.5 in 4 in a row. Fulham games have went over in their last couple. But the over 2.5 on its own is a bit short. So Fulham, no clean sheet in 8. Villa have got 2 clean sheets in the last 8. And that was against Sheff Utd and Everton. So exactly like you, I'm tagging on the both teams to score onto the over 2.5. Exactly the same pick. Fulham v Villa, both to score and over 2.5 at 4-5 for me, Malcolm.
It's a clarity of thinking gone into Monday night's show and tonight's show. We've been on the same page an awful lot. 3 o'clock kickoff, a game I will not be going to, Barry, because I am playing the role of big-hearted Arthur this week. Geordie is coming up for the weekend to clear out his dead auntie's house. And his 2 kids want to go to the match. So I said his 2 kids could go to the match. I think you shame me with the dead auntie thing. His 2 kids going to the match with mine and Bob's tickets because they don't get a chance to come up more than maybe once a season. So I have donated my tickets to Billy and Archie. So there you go. I'll be missing this one. I'll get the dodgy stick fired up. Newcastle take on Bournemouth. Newcastle are 5-6 minus 120. The draw is 16-5 plus 320, and Bournemouth are 3-1. Drifted a little bit. Bournemouth were 14-5. They've drifted. Newcastle were 4-5. They've drifted, and the draw's drifted. So I don't know what's going on there. Baz, but take us through Newcastle and Bournemouth.
Yeah, I mean, that was a lovely good deed you've done, Malcolm. I thought it was going to be better than that, though. I thought you were going to say you've donated the 2 tickets and you've offered to go help Geordie clear out the auntie's house. But you've just offered the tickets and you're going to sit and watch the game on the TV anyway. I thought you were going to be a proper saviour there, but it turns out not. I should have known, really.
No.
Newcastle games in the Premier League, 6 in a row, both teams to score. And all 6 of those games went over 3.5 goals. And for me, I just can't get away from that because we don't look like keeping a clean sheet at all these days. Luton scored 4 against us. Forest got 2. They could have had more. And Bournemouth have got a more potent attack than either of Luton or Forest, I'd say. Newcastle might win it. I think they're an all right price, 5-6 at home. But I just think at the moment, the safer play has to be in the goals market. So again, it was quite a brief handicap of this one because Bournemouth games have seen both teams to score in 4 of the last 5. And 3 of the last 5 for Bournemouth have also seen that over 3.5 goals as well. So there's enough goals in their games. But 6 in a row Newcastle games over 3.5 goals. Just got to keep riding that. Over 3.5 goals, Newcastle v Bournemouth, 6-5 is my pick.
Yeah, I mean, there is goals absolutely everywhere. Newcastle have scored 10 in the last 3. They've scored 14 in the last 5. Bournemouth had that little fun run, but it really has fizzled out a little bit. It's actually no winning 5 now. And in a way, defeated Fulham isn't great, even though their XG was okay. But they've conceded 12 in 5 as well. Occasionally, you just have to write off the odd game. It's just a bit of a mad one. The 4-4 draw v Luton could put you off a little bit. I think maybe the reason Newcastle have drifted might be the injury to Callum Wilson. Another weird injury in the long list Newcastle have had. He's done something to his pectoral. I don't know how he's done that running about. So it looks like we don't have a striker maybe this weekend. But Wilson and Isak were missing against Luton and we scored 4 times. If you'd, again, 3 months ago, if you'd said what price will Newcastle be to up to Bournemouth, would have been 2-5 or something. Absolutely wild. So Newcastle are considerably better than Bournemouth. Newcastle are in better form. Bournemouth are dropping off a little bit. I did this against Luton 2 weeks ago and regretted it. But I mean, in fact, Newcastle were about 1-2 against Luton. I had to give out Newcastle on the handicap. I don't see what the difference is here, really. So yeah, Newcastle at 5-6 minus 120. At 5 o'clock on Saturday, everyone will be thinking, why didn't we just pick Newcastle at 5-6? So that's exactly what we're going to do. Next up, is Hall of Fame bets. Help everyone win bigger by betting smarter this NBA season. With Hall of Fame bets, the sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines research, NBA and soccer bets with historical stats and data. Put your parlays into Hall of Fame bets revolutionary parlay optimizer, and you'll get hit rates broken down by leg. You'll get expected probabilities. You'll have your players sorted by hit rate, all that sort of stuff. So stop betting in the dark. Join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame bets app or visit hofbets.com. Use code SGPN to get 50% off your first month. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame bets. Another 3 o'clock. Yeah, we've got a night 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 3 o'clock games on Saturday. Nottingham Forest take on West Ham United. Forest are 11-8 plus 137. The draw is 12-5 plus 240. West Ham are 15-8 plus 187. I've been waiting for a good chance to fade West Ham, and eventually I've got one. I'm not in on West Ham at all. That might have sounded weird when I backed them last week at 6-1 to beat Arsenal and got what I deserved. I should have faded them -4.5 goals or whatever it was. Forest did okay against Newcastle, and I think they're always capable at home. Awoniyi's back, and Gala played well. Ilanga, played well on the right-hand side. They've got some goals in them. They could easily have won that game. They scored 2. They were good for maybe 3 or 4. Then, like I say, West Ham, I've said, they're going on the slide. They're going to finish 14th. I'm not really sure how they ended up where they are. I don't think they know how they ended up where they are. And the fans certainly don't know how they ended up where they are. So this is the perfect... When I faded them at Christmas, and I said I'm going to be out, this is the kind of game I wanted. So, yeah, I've given myself no choice but to take Nottingham Forest at 11-8 plus 137, Baz.
Yeah, I mean, West Ham's form is nuts when you look at it. As I said a while ago, I don't know how they suddenly just appeared in 6th place in the league. Because, I mean, you look at the last few weeks and it's been awful. And then you see that little patch where they beat Man United and Arsenal 2 weeks in a row. They went and beat Man United 2-0 and Arsenal 2-0. And then they're without a win since. And they've just lost to the same 2 teams, 3-0 to Man United and 6-0 to Arsenal. As I say, it wasn't that long ago they were beating the 2 of them. Just all over the place. Can't back them. Forest under Nuno have now seen 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 defeats. But they've not failed to score in any of the 6 games. And they've scored 2 or more in 4 of the 6 under Nuno. So I think goals for Forest was the way in for me. It's particularly West Ham in such terrible form. And Forest at home, where they've scored 2 or more in 3 of their last 4 home games. The only game they didn't score 2 goals in was the one against Arsenal. I'm going to take Forest to score 2 or more here. So a team total bet again. Forest v West Ham. Forest over 1.5 goals on the team total at 6-5 plus 120.
Nice. Callum is doing that very British thing of whinging about the Super Bowl in the chat. He says he watched it because we talked him into it. You're right, Callum. It was a bit shit, and just in the terms of the defenses were on top. So there wasn't. If you were an absolute purist, if you were aficionado, you might have enjoyed some of it. But if you're just dropping in once a year, it wasn't a great example of the genre. However, our picks were mainly all right. So I mean, you can't have it both ways. So next up is the final 3 o'clock game. It's Tottenham Hotspur against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Tottenham are 4-7. -175. The draw is 7-2 plus 350. Wolves are 15-4 plus 375. Baz.
Yeah, so the first thing that stands out with Spurs games is the goals. The last 7 games for Spurs have been over 2.5 goals and both teams to score. But going further back than that, that's hitting 14 of the last 15 games. Over 2.5 on both to score. So they're also on a 5-game unbeaten run at the moment. And at home, it's a 5-game win streak now. Wolves, on the other hand, are all over the place again. They've beaten Chelsea twice recently. They've comfortably beat Everton. They had a comfortable win versus Brentford. But then they went and lost 2-0 to Brentford last week. They managed to lose 3-0 away to West Ham, not all that long ago as well. So it's just really hard to know what to make. Wolves, they're just at that point where they are all over and hard to predict from one week to the next. We know Cunha's out injured for a while, just as he'd started to hit a bit of form. So that'll be a bit of a miss for them. Wolves might be competitive here, but I think it'll be a Spurs win with them on great form at home. As I say, 5 wins in a row. They're getting players back now. Son's back from the Asian Cup. Madison's back fit. They're getting back to full strength now. It was a tough one to find a pick because Spurs on their own are a bit too short. So I've had to go to the Asian handicap here to get Spurs. I think Spurs will win, and they'll definitely win by at least 1, but I'm taking them to win, hopefully by more. It's a -1 Asian handicap, so we'll push if Spurs win by 1. But it's at 10 to 11. It's close enough to even money. So it wasn't my favourite game of the week, but Spurs v Wolves. Spurs -1 on the Asian handicap at 10 to 11. So we'll cash that if they win by 2, and we'll get a money back if they win by 1.
Well, I've just changed my pick on the fly, Baz. I was all the same thought process as you, looking into the same markets. But I have found one I'm a little bit happier with. Because where I started was both teams to score with over 2.5. Well, that's short. That's 3 to 4 -133. So I actually just tagged an extra goal on both teams to score with over 3.5. But I've managed to find a pick that I'm happier with. Tottenham do score plenty of goals, like you say, over 2.5, 7 in a row. 5 of those went over 3.5. Wolves had a bad result against Brentford. Did you say Cunha was missing a bit, Baz?
Yeah, I think he's picked up a bad injury. Could be out for several weeks.
Oh, okay. So bad result being Brentford, and then a couple of mad ones before that. 4-2 and 4-3 against Chelsea and Man United. So they're not they're not afraid to get involved in a shootout, Wolves. So I do think they can contribute, but I do think Spurs will win. Especially, you've just taken the best player out of Wolves as well. So I think Tottenham to win with over 2 goals I'm a lot happy with that than the both teams to score over 3.5. So it's a little bit shorter, but it's nearly even money. Tottenham to win with over 2 goals. That just gives us a 3-0 in case Wolves haven't thrown another shocker like they did last weekend when they lost 2-0. That's 19 to 20 -105. We move on to Saturday tea time, 5:30 kickoff, 12:30 Eastern time, which is Manchester City taking on Chelsea. Man City are 1 to 3 -300. The draw is 9 to 2 plus 450. Chelsea out at 7 to 1. I didn't even look at the numbers here, Baz. I didn't look at the stats or out like that. I just feel like Chelsea are going to bash them up. I watched Chelsea in the first half the other night, and they were shite. They were really shite. They scored, in fact, they were shite all the way through. They scored 2 goals at 10 o'clock when we were sitting here just starting recording. City kind of huffed and puffed a little bit against Copenhagen, just kept them at arm's length. I mean, they won 3-1. They actually gifted Copenhagen their goal as well. So it's just worth making a pick. But Chelsea aren't cut out for this kind of game either. Like, certain teams are going to be equipped to take on Man City. Chelsea aren't, because they've got no intention of defending or trying or running around. So they won't get anywhere near City here. I've got 4 picks written down, Bars. I might as well just stick a pin in one of these. City on the handicap is even money. I love City -2.5. City -2.5. Bars is 23 to 10 plus 230. City goes over 2.5 is 11 to 10. Over 3.5 is 11 to 4. Take your pick. You've got 2 ladders there. You've either got City on the Asian handicap or you've got the City goals ladder. I'm not bothered. Take your pick. City are going to beat them up about 5 now.
I'm sure you started your handicap there by saying Chelsea are going to beat them up. I was a bit concerned about where you were going.
All right. Christ.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm pleased you restored order. Yeah. I mean, it's getting a bit boring, my handicap in the City games, because I do want City on my side most weeks, but there are only so many ways you can play it, and you've just named pretty much all of them. Chelsea are another side who are all over the place. They did manage a 4-4 earlier in the season against City at Stamford Bridge. That was a bit nuts. But recently, they were well beaten by Liverpool, well beaten by Wolves. They played well in a win against Villa, and then scraped a late one at Palace. they're just impossible to trust, Chelsea, at the moment, and I can't do so here, even at 7-1. As you know, we do like the underdog from time to time. We're not afraid to pick a big price if we think they can nick it, but I just don't see any value in that at all, even at a very big price. So it left me with two options. You had 4, I had 2. It was City to win by 2 or more, or City to score 3 or more. They've won each of the last 4 games by 2 goals, and they're scoring 3 or more often enough. I think it's 6 of the last 9 they've scored 3 goals in. So the handicap was about 10-11. I think you had it at evens. But the 3 or more goals was slightly higher, 11-10. So I'm just taking the higher price. I've gone for the City team total over 2.5 at 11-10. So Man City v Chelsea, City to score 3 or more at 11-10 plus 110.
What's good about our listeners, Baz, is you'll often get a couple of different ways of handicapping the games, but very shrewd, a lot of science gone in. Michael Roberts is throwing out giving us some stats that Malo Gusto was booked for in his last 10. Going to have a rough game against Duck, who in 4. He's 11-4 to get booked. Also giving us Gallagher 6-4. And then again, Callum Schultz with a lot of thought and science into his handicap, which is Chelsea are getting bummed. So there you go. I mean, everyone's welcome to their own opinion, but the listeners coming here with the good stuff. I fully agree with you, Callum. Chelsea are getting bummed. We move across to Sunday, 2 o'clock, 9 a.m. Eastern Time kickoff. Sheffield United take on Brighton and Hove Albion. Sheffield United 4-1. The draw is 3-1, and Brighton are 4-6, minus 150. Bas.
Yeah, so Sheffield United got an unlikely win at the weekend versus Luton, and I think it was unlikely mainly due to the form of Luton coming into that one. But their overall form doesn't give them much hope, does it? They'll pick up the odd win like they did at the weekend, but I just don't think. I think those wins will be few and far between, and I don't think it'll be enough to keep them up. Brighton have only won 2 of their last 6 Premier League games, but I do think they should win this one. But 8-13 is a short price for them on the road. And I obviously struggle to want to get involved in Sheff United. I mean, the 2 wins for Brighton were 4-1 against Palace and 4-2 versus Spurs. Both of them were at home, though. Away from home, they haven't won in 6 league games now, Brighton. And that's a concern. And certainly if you're looking at them at odds on 8-13, even against possibly the worst side in the league, 8-13 is a short price for a team who haven't won in 6 games on the road. In the league. I should add, they do have an away win in the FA Cup, and that was against Sheff United, as it happens, and a comfortable 5-2 win in the end. So you've got to count that in. Brighton might win this, and they might win it well, like they did in the Cup game, or like Villa did away there the other week, where they went and beat them 5-0. But I just struggle with Brighton away from home in that sort of form. So again, I've had to go for goals here. 6 in a row for Sheff United have gone over 3.5 goals. The recent head-to-head between the two sides saw 7 goals. So I'm going to take the over 3.5 here at 11-8. So Sheffield United versus Brighton, over 3.5 goals at 11-8, plus 137.
Yeah, the 2 teams, I don't want to back Sheffield United. They've won 2 out of 12 at home. So 4-1 against the top half side in Brighton. The last home game, a similar comparison against Villa. Brighton, similar levels. I mean, it was absolute no contest. By the same token, I don't want to back Brighton at 4-6. They've won 3 out of 12 on the road, Barry. It's not a good enough record. So taking them at 4-6 doesn't appeal at all. I had to throw a little bit of guesswork in here, Baz. I really couldn't work anything out. So I came down to first half goals, Baz. You know what Brighton are like? Could be absolutely anything like. This could easily be 1-1 at half time, or Brighton could be a couple up. So I'm going to take over 1.5 first half goals is a price of 5-4 plus 125. Next Sunday afternoon is Luton Town against Manchester United. 4:30 kickoff, 11:30 Eastern Time. Luton Town are 3-1. What a wild price that is. The draw is 3-1, and Manchester United are 4-5, minus 125. So really, the prices just instantly scream Man United, Baz. Like, again, if you price us up at the start of the season, Oh, would Luton be 9-1, 8-1, something mad like that? Just on the name value. So Manchester United are winning without looking great against West Ham and Villa, but they do look dangerous going forward. And those two teams that they've just beat are better than Luton Town. Luton have been competitive. We say that every week. The loss against Sheffield United was a bit of a shocker last week. So they will make a nuisance of things. But you know, man, you were going to win this game, Baz. We love fading them. We laugh our little willies off when they get beat. However, you get them at 4-5 to win against Luton Town, and it's an absolute no-brainer, Baz. Yeah, the Luton will be plucky losers in this. We know they will. Everyone says, I'll tell you what, Luton were unlucky. Man United scraped past 2-1 with a goal 10 minutes from the end. Man United definitely win 4-5, -125, Baz.
Definitely, we need to get those Spider-Man pajamas on, Malcolm. It's becoming a regular thing, you taking Man United. But I did write very much the same words. I've put Man United are a good price here. And I've also said at the start of the season, if we'd seen a price like this, we'd have been all over it. I'm still not quite ready to back Man United yet.
You're not allowed.
Well, I will at some point. I will break that resolution, but I wasn't quite there. And that's not to say I don't think they'll win. I've just went somewhere else. I mean, earlier in the season, we'd made a big thing about how tough Luton would be at home. And it's actually gone the other way. They're unbeaten in 6 away from home now. And their home form's more patchy. 3 defeats, 2 wins and a draw in their last 6 at home. And the Sheff United defeat was the most recent one. That was with Luton at home as well. So I think the home away thing doesn't really come into it with the Luton anymore, where we were expecting it to be more of a skewed towards their home form. On the positive side for them, they had been on a 6-game unbeaten streak in all competitions before that Sheff United game. So it isn't all doom and gloom. And they have scored in all 6 of their last 6 games there. And 5 of the last 6 games have been both teams to score as well. And 5 of the 6 were over 2.5. So there's been plenty of goals. And Luton will score more often than not. I know Man United have been on a bit of a streak themselves. They're 6 unbeaten. They've 4 wins in a row. They've scored 2 or more goals in each of the last 6 games. The over 2.5's hitting regular for Man United games as well. That's hitting 5 straight games. So they are a good price. But I'm just not quite ready to back Man United away from home, because they won the last 2 games away from home, but they needed very late winners for both of them against Aston Villa and Wolves. 2 very late winners in those games. They didn't look particularly good in either of the games. And before that, they'd not won away in the league for 4 straight games. So they have won 2 of the last 6, but needed very late game goals to get it. And that's why I wasn't quite willing to take them. But I do agree with you. They're a good price. You know, you match the 2 teams up on paper, then 4-5 Man United looks generous. But I'm sticking with the goals trends here. Both teams to score and over. Has got good form for both teams. As I said, for Luton, they're scoring regular enough. Both teams to score in the over 2.5's coming in all the time. I'm just going to tag those 2 together again. So for me, Luton v Man United, both teams to score and over 2.5 goals is 5-6, -120.
I'll take Man United. Honestly, I'll happily lose my money, like, if they for them to get beat. Absolutely happily lose my money. But I feel like I've got to give out a winning pick, and that is Man United. Last game on Monday night. This is not one for the faint-hearted. I already feel sorry for the ball. 8 o'clock on Monday is Everton taking on Crystal Palace. Everton are 7-10, -142. The door's 13-5, +260. Palace 17-4, +425. Bars, what an absolute minger this one is.
Save the best till last, eh?
Horrible.
It is horrible. Yeah, Michael Roberts might want to tune out now for the next 5 minutes. I know Palace aren't very good, but 7-10 for Everton here just looks nuts to me. They've not won a game in the Premier League in 7. That was prior to Christmas. They haven't won since the 16th of December in the league. The only game they have won is an FA Cup game, which ironically was against Palace, but that was a 1-0 win in a cup game, and it just doesn't give me enough confidence to think they're worth backing at an odds-on price. I can't have Everton at that price. Now, Palace form isn't much better. They have 2 wins in 13 league games, but they did come fairly recently. They've actually won 2 of the last 5. They've only blanked once in 9 games. That was against Arsenal. So in 8 of the last 9 games, Palace have managed to at least score. And I just think if they can get a goal here, it might just be enough. Everton have failed to score in 4 of the last 5 Premier League games now. So 1-0 could nick it for Palace easy enough. I just can't have Everton at 7-10. They're too short. They might win, but they won't have my money on them. The 2 poor teams in poor form at the minute, but one of them just looks a bit more likely to be able to nick a goal. And for me, that's Palace, because they do score regular, whereas Everton are struggling with that at the moment. They're 17-4, and it's just enough for me to take a punt on them. It's a big price in what I think is a closer match. So I'm taking Palace to beat Everton at 17-4.
My handicap's pretty much identical, Baz. Michael's saying that Doucouré and Onana, who are big players for Everton, because they just bolster that midfield when really they haven't got much else going for them. So it's sort of keep it solid and hope they can nick it. So I didn't want either side. I'm going to come back to Palace again in a little while. But you can't take Everton at the price. You'd be a madman. I've got a bit of a system play though, Baz. So we know that's an overs league, Barry. The over 2.5 is plus money. So at any point now, if I see an over 2.5 in this league at plus money, I'm going to take it. And every time I've done it in the last few weeks, it's worked. And whenever you get a couple of these dog shit teams playing each other, and the price here is 15-13 plus 115. It's happened at Palace, Sheffield United a couple of weeks ago, finished 3-2. The game was 2-1 after 7 minutes or whatever the hell it was. So I don't want either side, but any over 2.5 at plus money in this league, I've just got to take it, Baz. It's a system play. It's got nothing to do with either side. I'm just taking it. So I'll take the over 2.5 at 15-13 plus 115. Baz, we have done it. All 10 matches handicapped. Fancy stuff to come. Would you like to lead us off, or would you like to follow me?
I'm going to follow you so you can get your Man United love in again. Go on, off you go. I know exactly where you're going. I knew where you were going for your scorer pick before you even knew it yourself. Off you go.
Go on then. What's my scorer pick?
Rasmus
Well,
Højlund.
in fact, you do know because I've fucking put it in the chat, you bozo.
But I knew. I looked at it myself, to be honest. I did consider the same pick. And then I looked at the price and I thought it was a bit too short. And I thought Malcolm will go for that anyway. Because I knew you were backing Man United in this one tonight. So yeah, you can lead off, Malcolm.
So while we were talking about Manchester United, Courtney put in the chat that she thought Rasmus Højlund would get a goal. Pat backed her up. He likes a bit of Rasmus Højlund each way. And he is going to be my goal scorer. Luton have conceded 7 in the last 2 games, and Højlund scored 5 in a row. So he's 15-4 to score first and last, and 5-4 to score any time. My underdog is going to be Crystal Palace, Baz, because I didn't have anyone else to choose from for a start. No other underdogs. So even though I didn't take them outright, they say I went for the over 2.5 in the game. So I've really forced myself into taking Palace. But I'm pleased that you gave them out as your pick as well, because I absolutely think they're live. This could just be a absolutely manky 1-0, 82nd minute header from a corner from somebody. And for my acca, really boring, old school money line chalk play, Baz. Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester United. Pays 4-1, Barry. 4 winners, dead simple, not pissing about.
Yeah, my underdog is also Palace. For similar reasons, I haven't got any other big underdogs in the card that I fancy at a price. So again, purely on the prices, I'll put Palace up as my underdog of the week at 17-4. My scorer this week is actually to score against Liverpool. It's Ivan Toney, who we've also mentioned, and the difference he's made. Because he's 2-1 for an anytime goal. And 13-2 first or last. And the big prices for someone on set pieces, they're on pens. You take all the free kicks around the box. You scored in 3 of the 4 games since returning. And I don't think it matters who you're playing. If you're on all those set pieces, you've got a chance. And Liverpool don't necessarily keep many clean sheets anyway. So Ivan Toney for a scorer at 2-1 anytime, 13-2 first and last. I like my accumulator this week is a team totals, and I've gone for 5 teams this week. I've pushed it a little bit, but I have gone fairly safe with the first few selections. So I've got Liverpool, Arsenal, Spurs, Newcastle, and Brighton, all to score 2 or more goals. Comes in at 13-2 plus 650. So that's a team total over at 1.5 goals for Liverpool, Arsenal, Spurs, Newcastle, and Brighton at 6.5 to 1. And of course, Malcolm, I'm going to put it out again. It's an overs league, Malcolm. We've got to keep riding this. Over 1.5 goals in every game, 5 to 1 this week. We got it at 4 to 1 last week, and it landed. So we're in profit. So you've got to keep taking it. And over 2.5 goals in every game, 115 to 1 this week. We're going to hit one before now and the end of the season. We'll hit an over 2.5 tenfold on this Premier League. Whether it's this week, I don't know. That Everton Palace game gives me concerns.
Well, I was just going to say that we get the Monday night sweat again, Baz, because that could easily. We talked about it last week.
We didn't last week.
Easily go 9 for 9, and we could be sitting here live waiting for a last minute header from Jordan Ayew to get us the 115 to 1 winner.
So I should say, I mean, you know, on your behalf, you haven't put a 1-1 of the week out for quite some time. I should also apologise because this week I've got no ladder, and I did look, but I'm not just going to put a ladder out for the sake of a ladder. I know Michael's put up the Bournemouth corners in the Newcastle game. Bournemouth are flying for corners at the moment. I pointed it out last week against Fulham. They went and got 13. I took match corners in that one. We got 14 altogether. And I did look at it in the Newcastle game, and I don't know what it was about the Newcastle game. I just didn't like. I didn't like the ladder. I'd put Bournemouth off firmly on my radar for that. But you can't just put it out for the sake of it. Callum is saying I need to put out another bookings bet again. If I get a chance before the weekend, we'll maybe put one out on Twitter or Telegram or something before the weekend, because I do like the cards bets. If you don't have to hit them very often if you're sticking in trouble. So we will look at getting more of that fancy stuff out again, Callum.
Smashing. Well done, Baz. I feel confident. It's always much easier handicapping a card when you've got some winners in the bank, like we did this week on the Champions League in the AFL. So brilliant stuff. Anything else you would like to tell us about Barry before we let the people carry on with their lives?
Nothing more from me.
Nothing more from you, champion. Well, thank you, everybody. The chat was buzzing again. It was loads of fun. Every time I was talking, I could just see Barry giggling away as he was scrolling up and down the chat. Poor Uncle Roy got some stick in the last 5 minutes. So, yeah, Callum Coisty, Pat, Courtney Lee, Michael, who else was in? Let's have a look. Might have been. Oh, there was more people up the top, wasn't there? Anyway, thanks, everybody who joined in. It was tons of fun, as per usual. Zach in Captain Insano and Lloyd. Oh, that's what I was missing. I am going to spend the next 7 minutes of Valentine's Day with Kelly LeBrock. So we'll look forward to that. Then I'll have a cup of tea and go to bed. Back on Sunday night, as per usual, Baz, we think?
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be more Champions League next week. And we are now European football experts. So look forward to that. Have a good weekend, everyone. Good luck with your bets. We will see you down the road. Cheers.